exposing the wild side of monks to the serious side of monastic reforms. The medieval period was a time of great change and upheaval, and the monastic communities were not immune to these shifts. Monks, who were supposed to be the epitome of religious devotion and discipline, sometimes found themselves straying from their spiritual path. This led to a need for significant reforms to bring them back to their original purpose. By the 10th century, some European monasteries had lost their way, straying from strict religious practices to a life far less disciplined. Monks were often found engaging in activities that were far removed from their religious duties. This period saw monasteries becoming centers of power and wealth, which sometimes led to corruption and a decline in spiritual fervor. Enter the monastic reforms, a movement to bring back discipline and piety. These reforms were not just about returning to old practices, but were also about adapting to the changing times while maintaining the core values of monastic life. The reforms aimed to restore the spiritual integrity of the monastic communities and to ensure that monks lived up to their vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Let's dive into two key players, the Cluniacs and the Cistercians. These two groups played a pivotal role in the monastic reform movement, each bringing their unique approach to revitalizing monastic life. The Cluniacs, founded in 910, were all about prayer, hard work, and rules. They believed that a strict adherence to the rule of Saint Benedict was essential for a disciplined and pious life. The Cluniacs emphasized the importance of communal prayer and the liturgy, making their monasteries centers of religious life. Lots and lots of rules. The Cluniacs had a detailed set of regulations that governed every aspect of monastic life, from the daily schedule to the conduct of the monks. This rigorous structure was designed to ensure that the monks remained focused on their spiritual duties and avoided the temptations of the outside world. They loved grand church architecture and beautiful music, turning their monasteries into centers of art and culture. The Cluniac monasteries were known for their impressive buildings and elaborate liturgical ceremonies. They believed that the beauty of their surroundings and the solemnity of their rituals would inspire greater devotion and reverence among the monks and the lay people who visited their churches. On the other hand, the Cistercians, who emerged in the late 11th century, went for simplicity. They sought to return to the original ideals of monastic life, emphasizing austerity and manual labor. The Cistercians believed that a simple and humble lifestyle was more conducive to spiritual growth and closer to the teachings of Christ. They lived in remote areas, focusing on manual labor and self-sufficiency. The Cistercians established their monasteries in isolated locations, away from the distractions and temptations of urban life. They engaged in agricultural work and other forms of manual labor, believing that this would help them maintain a humble and disciplined lifestyle. Their architecture, plain and functional. Unlike the Cluniacs, the Cistercians preferred simple and unadorned buildings. They believed that the focus should be on the spiritual life rather than on material wealth and grandeur. Their monasteries were designed to be practical and efficient, reflecting their commitment to simplicity and humility. So what impact did these reforms have? The monastic reforms brought about significant changes in the daily lives of monks and the overall functioning of monasteries. These changes were not just limited to the spiritual aspects, but also had social, economic, and political implications. First, they brought stricter religious practices. The reforms emphasized the importance of prayer, meditation, and adherence to religious guidelines. Monks were expected to follow a rigorous schedule of communal prayers, personal meditation, and study of religious texts. This renewed focus on spiritual practices helped to restore the religious fervor and discipline that had been lost in some monasteries. Monks became more dedicated to prayer, meditation, and studying religious texts. The reforms encouraged monks to spend more time in contemplation and reflection, deepening their understanding of the scriptures and their commitment to their faith. This intellectual and spiritual engagement was seen as essential for personal growth and the overall spiritual health of the monastic community. Second, they revitalized monastic life, inspiring new generations of monks. The reforms attracted individuals who were genuinely committed to the monastic ideals and who were inspired by the renewed sense of purpose and discipline. This influx of new monks brought fresh energy and enthusiasm to the monastic communities, helping to sustain the reforms and ensure their long-term success. Third, Reformed monasteries often became wealthy landowners, gaining significant economic power. The emphasis on hard work and self-sufficiency led to the economic prosperity of many Reformed monasteries. They became important centers of agricultural production and economic activity, accumulating wealth and resources that were used to support their religious and charitable activities. But these reforms weren't just about piety. They also mirrored broader social and political trends, like a growing emphasis on religious orthodoxy and a desire for social order. The monastic reforms were part of a larger movement within the medieval church to assert greater control over religious practices and to promote a more disciplined and orderly society. This reflected the changing dynamics of medieval Europe, where the church sought to play a central role in shaping social and political life. They also mirrored broader social and political trends, like a growing emphasis on religious orthodoxy and a desire for social order. Curious for more? The monastic reforms were not just about internal changes within the monasteries, but were also influenced by and contributed to the broader transformations taking place in medieval society. They reflected the Church's efforts to respond to the challenges of the time and to assert its authority in a rapidly changing world. Check out the link in the description for an in-depth look at monastic reforms. What do you think? The story of monastic reforms is a fascinating chapter in the history of the medieval church, offering insights into the complexities of religious life and the ways in which spiritual ideals were adapted to meet the needs of the time. Were the monastic reforms a positive or negative development for the Catholic Church? The impact of the monastic reforms on the Catholic Church is a subject of much debate among historians. While the reforms helped to restore discipline and piety within the monastic communities, they also led to significant changes in the Church's structure and its relationship with society. Some argue that the reforms strengthened the Church's spiritual and moral authority, while others believe that they contributed to the centralization of power and the growth of institutional rigidity. Share your thoughts in the comments below. #subscribe for more #medieval history, #monks and monasteries. We would love to hear your opinions on this intriguing period of history. How do you think the monastic reforms shaped the medieval church and society? Join the discussion and share your insights with us.